Welcome to Pondering Passages. I'm Kurt Austin. We're going to be talking about Psalm 141 today. It's an interesting passage, and it's got a lot to think about. So the more we talk about it, the more I think I'm going to like it, because I love talking about these passages with my friend Dave. Come back, join us for that conversation. We'll see you soon.
Welcome to Pondering Passages. We're going to be taking a look at Psalm 141 this week.
Dun, dun, dun.
I really hate saying I enjoyed this psalm because
Did you really?
I did.
More than 140?
I don't know if I can say more than, but I did. I like this psalm.
Interesting.
So what's interesting about that? Oh wait, I'm David Mullins, and I'm here with my
Kurt
good
Austin.
friend.
Yeah, and my good friend David Mullins.
Yeah, it's like we couldn't wait to get started, but yeah, we need to do introductions. So what's interesting about the fact that I like this psalm?
It's I liked it. I liked it too. I just didn't love it.
Well,
is that fair?
Yeah.
I like the reference. I like some of the references. I like some of the ideas that they were trying to accomplish. Again, it's defaulting to more of a violence state than what I'm comfortable with just in general. Although, as you and I talked before the show, I've got all my guns loaded. So, I mean, I'm willing to, fight for what I believe in. No, I don't, folks. I really don't.
He does not fight for what he believes in.
Well, I know, and I don't have any guns loaded because that's not good. You don't do that. But I also don't have guns, so don't. Let's start over, can we?
I got a gun.
You have guns.
Got two guns right here.
All right, let's keep going then. That just saved it right there. Oh my goodness. So anyway, for Psalm 140, it's Psalm of David. 41, it's a Psalm of David. It's a psalm crying out for help. Starts right out with seeking God to intervene into his life, and I think that's important. I can get on board with that. I think that's a good thing.
I think this is one of the reasons why I liked it, because this consists of a lot of my prayers. Lord, help! Please hurry.
Yeah. I did like that. I thought that was kind of cool. That's one of the first times I've seen that, I think.
Yeah. There's some other Psalms. I'm thinking Psalm 70 has something that's similar. It's kind of like come to my aid, come quickly.
Yes, come quick. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. And so I like that. I'm calling to you, please hurry, listen to when I cry to you for help. And the other thing I like, and I think we'll get into it, later in this, is what he's really crying for help for.
It just dawned on me. I'm looking in Luke. One day, Zechariah was serving God in the temple for his duty, as was the custom of the priest. He was chosen by Lot while the incense was being burned. All right. So Zechariah is and the reason why this stands out to me is because Zechariah he's being charged with accepting his role in this particular time in Luke chapter 1, verse 8 and 9.
Okay.
Chapter 1, verses 8 and 9. He's burning the incense, which was a prayer offering for the people. So the people's desire to have salvation, to be free of Rome, to have their their relationship with God fulfilled, and God and the angel shows up to tell him what good news he has, and he doesn't buy it. Right. He and his wife have been praying for children for how long. She's barren, and so how often? So this is accept my prayer as an incense offered to you. How often do we pray but really don't expect answers? Right. And I think that's what this is encouraging us to do, is to really turn to God and expect that God will answer you. Don't just call, shout into the wind, as the phrase is, but in fact, anticipate that God will honor the prayers of your heart.
Yeah, because God does, or at least God seems to honor the prayers of our heart. And, he continues. And then I think we really get a sense of why he's praying for help. And I think this is really the thing that jumped out at me.
Yeah.
Take control of what I say, guard my lips. Well, now let me just, and again, we haven't talked about this before, so I'm not wanting to put you on the spot. But when you hear that, what do you think this guy is really dealing with?
Well, I wonder if I think you have to take verse 3 and verse 4 together, and verse 4 section B, right? Don't let me share in the delicacies of those who do
Yeah,
wrong.
I love that.
And so I wonder, and I think the delicacies could be, you could think food, but I think you can also think of the how sweet it is to really talk bad about people, or to taking part in acts of wickedness.
Yeah.
I mean, you could take these two verses and paint pictures of everything that goes on in your brain and heart towards other people, towards, let's say, I'm going to go ahead and say it, towards political parties, towards decisions that are made at a local or national level. You could really become a real bitter person,
Yeah.
right? And in some people's minds, those are delicacies. They feast on those. They love that stuff. And he's saying, I don't want to be a part of that.
Yeah. Well, we talk about sweet revenge. Revenge is sweet, and we actually use that sort of language.
Yeah.
And I'll go ahead and share here what I think this guy's dealing with is, maybe he's been on the other side of things. Well, no, he has not on the other side. He is the one that is perpetuating wickedness. He's with this group that is actually saying stuff and doing stuff. And it's almost like he has this revelation or this epiphany of what he's doing. And so now he's wanting to back out. And it's like, I don't want to be a part of that anymore.
Now, I will also say that, so just like verses 1 and 2 took me to Zechariah, verses 3 and 4 took me to Daniel. So when Daniel is taken into by the king, and he's offered all of these delicacies that he can be a part of, and he refused.
Yeah.
Right. They refused. They said, we're going to have, vegetables and water. We're fine. We will not partake of these other things, because the idea was that they were probably sacrificed to other gods, and he did not want to be a part of that. He was going to eat. He was going to maintain his purity physically, spiritually. He was going to try to maintain that. And I thought the same thing here, that what if this isn't a reference by the psalmist to something related to Daniel, where you can separate yourself from the evil, or you can dive right in and be a part of it, even by something as simple as how you eat, what you watch, what you listen to, how you speak.
Yeah. It could very well be. I really, when I see him saying, I'm calling you, please hurry, listen when I call you for help, I got this sense that he was actually at a place to where he is not like Daniel, but he's like the one who would be persecuting Daniel, and he's asking God to help him get out of that because it's a temptation.
Well, and especially if you're
going in the delicacies.
If you look at verse 5, I think that's where you can pick that up, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I'm among the evil people.
Yeah.
It's the godly who need to bring me back in line.
And this really impacted me. Let the godly strike me. I don't know about you, Kurt. I don't want anyone striking me. I don't want anyone trying to course correct me. I want to course correct myself.
Course correct. I like that phrase.
And what he is saying is, he is asking, this is a prayer. And he says, God, let the godly strike me. It will be a kindness. If they correct me, it's soothing medicine. Don't let me refuse it, because see, that's kind of where I find myself. I want to refuse allowing anyone to correct me.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's a
and here
that's a
he's
good
praying
point.
for it. And here he's praying for it. And it's like,
Yeah.
what keeps me from praying for this? Well, my pride, my sense of not wanting to be vulnerable. I can go through a list. So, and then it kind of shifts right there in the midst of verse 5.
Well, he kind of separates himself. So if verses 1 through 4 and the first part of 5 are, I am a part of this, in verse 5, he shifts away. He
Yeah.
separates himself, right?
Yeah.
I'm praying against the wicked and their deeds. Their leaders are going to face their doom. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. When their leaders are thrown down from a cliff, they will listen to me. Then the wicked will listen to my words and find them true. Maybe he's been trying to warn them, saying, hey, you don't want to, you want to get off this ride. And it's only when the leaders are thrown down from a cliff, something that's very visual, only then will they finally look back and realize that what I've been telling them has been true this whole time.
I always, do you remember the TV show, or it was a movie, Jimmy Neutron?
Oh yeah, I love Jimmy.
I felt like his dad had some of the most keen insight. And he said, Jimmy, if your friends jumped on a boy named Cliff, would you jump on him too? Right?
That's a good question.
Yeah. Verse 7, though.
Yeah.
What?
There were in one of the commentaries, it talked, because rocks get brought up by a plow
All the time. Yep.
Yeah. There was it said they felt this was a reference to like one of the other nations' god that would consume someone and pick their bones clean. It was very graphic. And again, I'm not an expert in Middle Eastern ancient god cultures, but that's kind of what it was referring. And they also said that there's a lot of difference in translations with these 3 verses. So, there's a lot of challenges with this.
I don't know that they brought that. I will say, in the Middle East, having visited there a couple of times, man, there's rocks everywhere.
Yeah.
Right. It's a really, even in the most fertile of soils, there are rocks everywhere. But growing up in middle of Indiana and working on farms, we one year a farmer hired us to walk in front of him. He had one of those bucket tractors, the tractors with the bucket, and he was driving slowly, and our job was to pick the stones up that had been turned up by the plow, toss them in the bucket. Then when the bucket was full, he'd drive it to some other place, and like in the hedgerow or something, and dump them, come back, and you just fill the bucket. And the thing is, it's never done. It's never done, because the next year when they plow, there are new rocks that have worked their way up, and I wonder, as an agricultural society, this would have been a very visual, they could have tuned into this.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
They would go, oh yeah, like rocks brought up by a plow. We know what that's like.
And not being, not having a burial is a statement as well.
Yes. Yeah, very well. And it almost like brought up, but like brought up. Maybe they were buried at some point, but like the rocks being brought up by the plow, it's like now they've come to the surface and nobody's ever going to touch them again.
Yeah.
How judgment. There's a real sense of judgment in this, right? That this is how they're gonna end up.
Yeah, but that's not, and again, he doesn't want to be part of that. And I get a sense that maybe he might be tempted to get in with them, because it is delicacy, but yet he's asking God to help him, continue the right path. Looking to you for help. You're my refuge. Don't let them kill me. Keep me from the traps they have set for me, from the snares of those who do wrong. And again, this is a common image. Let the wicked fall into their own nets, but let me escape.
Escape or escape?
Yes. Escape.
Es- Escape. Um,
Escape.
yeah, this is. You're right. I mean, I like this. It's just not one of those beautiful songs of ascent that I've come to know and
No,
love in our
no,
time together. This is a what's the context? Is this still a context of Babylonian exile? Is this do you know from any of your reading?
I don't think usually they'll talk about that, and they probably did, but I don't remember anything in particular. Sometimes they're really not sure. Um, and again, this is a Psalm of David, so it very well could have been written by David, uh, but I don't know.
And that would align with his life.
Yeah, I'm sure he always had the ability to, or not the ability, but the opportunity to join in with the wicked.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, he did some things that weren't quite right. But then again, he also had wicked folks that were pursuing him and trying to overthrow him as well. So,
Yeah, even his own son.
yes,
Right.
yes,
Well, it's an interesting psalm, and I think it's one that leaves us. It's a reminder of that calling to God and the trust in God during times that none of us are perfect, and so we all slip into saying things, doing things that can be very hurtful to other people.
yeah.
And
And so this is my takeaway. This prayer, because I think this is a prayer that I can pray in a lot of different contexts. Lord, take control of what I say, guard my lips. Don't let me drift. That's a good thing.
Yeah, when I read this, you've had in the past, you've had a sermon series about drift.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And so when I read this, I went, oh, I should go back and listen to some of those sermons because, I remember the story. It was such a powerful story about you drifting with the current, away from the beach. Tell that story for anybody who's not heard your sermon about just that story itself and how that relates.
I'm not going because we're running a little long.
Oh, nobody cares. People love the stories.
But the basic thing is, swam out a little too far in the ocean because I wanted to touch some dolphins with my kids. And we actually got into the dolphin school or whatever it's called. And when I turned around, I realized we were way too far away from the shore, and we ended up making it back, much to my wife's delight. If she watched,
no, you didn't. You're still out there. You are.
But we were away. We had drifted. I mean, we had drifted so far from where we started, and that's kind of how we end up in bad places. Usually if the enemy comes and says, hey, why don't you do this? We're like, no. And so it's just a little bit over time, and we just keep moving a little bit over time, and we drift away from what we know is right. And this psalmist is saying, don't let that happen to me. Don't let me share the delicacies because it does seem so wonderful. And that's why we drift.
I love that.
So it is so tempting.
Yeah.
So
and as you know, verse 3 for me, that, help me with my lips. You don't have to blow it up, but, control what I say, O Lord, guard my lips.
Amen.
And you and I both have talked about that. That's something that we're praying God will help us with. We'll say fewer stupid things.
That's why we talk to each other, so we can say all the stupid things we want. And boy, do we get it out. Well, Kurt, it's been a joy and a blessing being with you. And so, folks, if you enjoyed this, even if you don't, just go ahead and click the like button. I mean, it doesn't take that much time. Follow us.
Think of others. Think of others for once, right? It's not all about you. What you like.
Yeah, that'll get the views. That'll get the likes. And we're on Instagram and on Facebook. Anywhere you get your social media consumption. And so we'd love to have you part of the conversation. So post some questions or some thoughts.
Yeah. Thanks, Dave. This has been really nice. That is just ugly. That is just horrendous.
It's festive.
Festivus for the rest of us.
Yes.